Hello. Today I'd like to show you my Jacobite army from the period of 1689 to 1691. This is the army of James II, who was fighting to retain his crown after the glorious revolution of William and Mary. I bought the figures in the early 1990s for a DBR project that never got off the ground. They've been unpainted in their box at the bottom of the lead pile until the beginning of this year. The reason for that change of heart was because I came across a new set of rules called the War of the Three Kings. It's the third edition of the Beneath the Lily Ballows rules by Barry Hilton. Lovely illustrations throughout and quite inspirational. The army is based loosely on the forces that fought at the Battle of the Boyne, with one or two additions. The armies of the time were relatively straightforward, simple affairs. So you were either foot, horse, dragoons or artillery. There were no skirmishing troops, there were no hussars or irregular light infantry. There were no cuirassiers, heavy armoured cavalry. We found those sort of things on the continent and towards the eastern fringes of Europe, but not in Ireland. The rules differentiate the infantry by quality and by the type of proportion of pike that they have. So you can be an entirely pike armed unit, you can be traditional 2 musketeers to 1 pike, or what they call regulation, which is 5 musketeers to 1 pike, or a completely musket armed unit with no pikes at all. And the muskets can be matchlock muskets, or this was a time when the flintlock musket was becoming more common, so they can be armed with flintlocks. The original army pack was from Essex Miniatures, and it didn't come with any pikemen. I looked at the Essex pikemen and decided I didn't like their poses, so I went to the North Star 1672 range and got what I needed there. I didn't have quite enough of the figures to complete the army I was trying to build, so I had to add some by getting a unit of pike-armed troops from Warfare Miniatures. These are much more modern with a variety of poses and styles. They're a similar height, so they don't look too out of place, but they are much slighter build than the Essex. The War of the Three Kings rules only has 2 types of cavalry active in Ireland: those that like to charge home and those that prefer to use their pistols. By today's standard, the Essex figures look a little dated. They are generally single poses, more variety in the horses for the cavalry, but it looks a little regimented. As a quick side note, on basing I would normally use a sort of sand colour, and that works quite well for dry climates, but this is Ireland and I wanted to have something that was more muddy. What I've used here is Foundry's Near Eastern Flesh Shade, which I bought for a project with the Hittites. I didn't like it as a flesh tone, but as a base colour I think it works alright. Normally a unit of foot would have 3 bases, but you can have forlorn hopes and commanded shot, and so I painted up these 6 Grenadier figures as a commanded shot unit. And finally, here are the generals for my Jacobite army. The central figure is from Dixon Miniatures, while the two outer ones are from Warfare Miniatures. Size-wise, they are pretty compatible. If you'd like to find out more about the Jacobite Wars in Ireland, there are a couple of books that I could recommend. Osprey have a title on the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, which is full of information on that iconic conflict. But the war didn't end after the Battle of the Boyne. It went on for another year, until it was finally at the Battle of Aughrim that the Jacobite cause was lost. So the second book is called St. Ruth's Fatal Gamble, which takes the history into that period and looks at how the Battle of Aughrim unfolded and the consequences that arose from that loss. So, thank you again for watching. I hope you found this interesting.